Hey there everyone, thank you so much for being here, thank you so much for watching. And this video will be the first of a series of videos about preparing for and utilizing more than 1 gig networks in your home or small business. And the reason that I will do this series of videos is because there is a lot of misinformation going out there. Unlike a few years ago, we were so used to everything just being 1 gig. Our routers, our switches, our access points, our network cables, everything was just 1 gig. We didn't even have to talk about it. In fact, we didn't move forward from this 1 gig status quo for so long that we still today have network switches sold today from known vendors that are still 100 megabits. So now the industry is going through a bit of a transition. More and more people are gaining access to fiber optic internet, and with that more than 1 gig internet speeds offering from their ISPs. And 10 gig devices are more and more leaving the data center space and onto the consumer space, But I have people saying to me, why should I invest in 10 gig networks when I only have 100 megabits internet speeds? So the linkage between WAN speeds and LAN speeds is so embedded, we need to break the wall here. These are two completely separate realms. And when your ISP offers you 2.5 gig internet speeds without explaining you that you need all the other devices to have at least 2.5 gig compatible network cards, you won't be able to utilize this phenomenal speed. So I have been lucky enough to have two great partners, Synology, that have sent me their DS1621 Plus alongside with NVMe SSD cache drives and a 10 gig network card, and ASUS that have sent me their RT-AX89X, their beast of a router with 8 1 gig ports and 2 10 gig ports and Wi-Fi 6. And together with all these components, I will be able to show you how you can very easily benefit and enjoy 10 gig networks, for example, even without having more than 1 gig internet speeds. Now, these videos are not about just showing speed tests and gloating in them. Not at all. These videos are going to be about understanding the overall concept, how you benefit from it, and we will see speeds greater than 1 gig. But the goal is not just showing speed tests. So, without further ado, let's go over to the computer and start making an order from this whole mess. Join me. Alright guys, so this is the RT-AX89X, and I am definitely not going to make this an unboxing video, and a router should stand out for its hardware and software capabilities and not its exterior build. But I do want to open up the box right now in order to show you the small differences we have from the all 1 gig world to the higher than 1 gig or fiber world. As you can see, these are the 8 1 gig ports, and there is nothing to talk about here. We just take a regular network cable, connect to the port and to our computer or to another switch or to another access point. We all know this cable, we all have this cable. It's the standard for several years now. But this device, first of all, look how pretty it is. But this device also comes with 2 10 gig ports. One is SFP Plus and the other one is for RJ45 cables. It's called a 10 base T. But the whole intention for including 2 10 gig ports right here is for for you to be able to connect your higher than 1 gig internet modem or a fiber converter. So you will be able to connect a higher than 1 gig internet connection right into this device. And the other one, you will connect, or preferably you will connect to a 10 gig switch. So you will then be able to have 10 gig connections to several devices, but you can if that's the situation for you, connect a 10 gig cable from the router itself directly to your computer. So it will be 1 gig 10 gig WAN port, 10 gig LAN port. So what will we connect to this SFP Plus port? We have several options. One of them is called a DEC cable, and it's something that looks like this. And it only goes into the SFP port one way. That's it. And the other half, and the other side, sorry, you will connect to a 10 gig switch or a 10 gig computer, whatever you decide. Another option for the SFP Plus port is to use something that's called a transceiver, or in some cases it's called a GBIC. It's a little thing that looks like this, and this only goes in one way. Sorry, like this. And to this transceiver you will connect a fiber optic cable, preferably a cable like this, or you have a yet third option is to use a transceiver that the end of the transceiver is an RJ45 cable. It goes on the exact same way, and then you will be able to connect an RJ45 cable to this port and also to this port. Now, in regards to heat and power consumption, the DEC cable or the fiber optic cable is preferable. Using an RJ45 transceiver might drive up just a little bit heat and power consumption. So this is how you connect 10 gig devices or higher than 1 gig devices to the AX89X ASUS router. It's definitely a beast of a device and a beauty, and Wi-Fi 6 capable. Let's go over to the computer and start doing stuff with it. Let's go. Alright guys, so after all this talking, we are finally on the computer and we can start doing stuff. Here's my test network that I have set up. It's just a basic ASUS router. In the center of it, my DS1621 Plus with a 10 gig network card is connected with a Cat6 cable to the 10 base T 10 gig network port of the ASUS router, and I got my computer connected with a 10 gig network card. This network card right here that ASUS has provided me together with their router. Again, thank you very much to ASUS and Synology. So this card actually is an SFP Plus based port. So I connected my computer to the 10 gig router with a DEC cable that I showed you in the previous segment. So both of these devices are now connected at 10 gig. And of course, this device also have eight other 1 gig ports, so you can connect other devices to the 1 gig ports and they will work 1 gig, no issues between that, and the 1 gig devices will be able to talk to the 10 gig connected devices. They will just do it at 1 gig. Alternatively, you can do it in another architecture. For example, now the devices are just for demonstration purposes. You can use a device with a 1 or 2.5. The new versions of the UDM Pro support 2.5 gig internet. You can connect your ISP at whatever speed it gives you, and then you can take 1 gig port and connect a 1 gig switch and connect regular 1 gig devices. By the way, just like the situation is in I think 90% of households today. And this specific device also has a 10 gig LAN port as well as a 10 gig WAN port, and you can connect a 10 gig switch to the 10 gig LAN port and then connect several 10 gig capable devices to this 10 gig switch. That's just a suggestion or an overall idea. This is the test setup that we have got right now, the devices are powered on, they're laid out just beside me, they're all connected. And just before we'll jump into our test network, I just want to take some sort of a comparison scenario here. My computer is still connected to my regular home network, which is a 1 gig base network. It's all Ubiquiti Unify gear. I'll just jump into one of my test servers and just do a regular file copy, just so we will see in our own eyes typical speeds of 1 gig networks. That's my Synology device that's connected to my regular home network. We'll just go ahead and grab an ISO file. And basically, these are the typical speeds of 1 gig networks. Again, provided that your switches and other network gear is in a certain quality. This is the typical speed of 1 gig network. That's just for reference. One other thing that I want to do is open up a web browser, and I have on my Synology device a Docker container running open speed test. Let's see that it's finished. Indeed it is. I just want to do a quick speed test. Now this is the same concept as the speed test that we are used to do on measuring our internet speeds, except this is an internal one. This will measure the speed between my client and my Synology device. Let's run it. Alright, so as you can see, these are the average typical speeds of 1 gig based networks. Now we will soon switch over to our test network, and we want to see speeds that are higher than 900 megabits. But take into account that we might not be reaching the full 10 gig speeds because there is some overhead. There are a lot of factors in play. For example, the quality of the cable, the quality of the network interface, the quality of the switch or the router, the speed of the hard drives. There are a lot of factors to take into account, but I'm sure that we will see significantly higher speeds than 1 gig. So just so that we will take a note for ourselves, these are the speeds of a typical 1 gig network. Alright, switching over to our 10 gig test network, I'll disconnect my computer from my 1 gig network and connect it to my 10 gig network. As you can see, it's an ASUS 10 gigabit SFP plus port. We got an IP address, I assume we do. Let's open up a different browser window. I do want to show you that when I log in to the 10 gig Synology NAS device, we will be able to see in the control panel our 10 gig network card. Here it is, and if we'll expand it, we can see that it is connected in a 10 gig link speed with an MTU of 9000, sorry. Now the MTU is something that you do need to match up between your let's say server or destination device and your client device. This is something that I've already done off camera. I've set the interface speed of my computer 10 gig network card to an MTU of 9000. So now we're connected to our 10 gig network. We can even see it right here. We have a 10 gig link. And now it's time to actually see in our own eyes what are the speeds that we will get from our 10 gig connected Synology device. Let's try it. Alright, let's grab an ISO file. You know what, let's take even a heavier file, 15 gigs. And we can see right now that we are getting above the 1 gig network speeds, but we are not reaching the full 10 gig speeds. Again, there are a lot of factors playing in this situation, so this is something that we'll have to mix and match and miss and hit. The speeds can go higher, and I fully intend on finding out where is my bottleneck. At this point, my assumption is that the bottleneck right here is my SATA drives on my Synology NAS. SATA drives has somewhere around theoretical 6 gigabit maximum speed. Now the NVMe SSD cache should somehow compensate. Maybe I'm not hitting the cache at this point, but we are seeing above 1 gig speeds on this NAS. One thing that I also want to do is also on this 10 gig NAS, I also installed a Docker with open speed test. Let's try to hit it. All right, let's click on start. Yeah, so it's consistent with the speeds of our transfer that we did of our movie file. Yeah, we are not getting the full 10 gig, but we are getting substantially a lot more than 1 gig. All right, so we are hitting maybe the 4 gig somewhere in this area. For me, by the way, it's still a success because I am getting more than 1 gig, and the bandwidth that I'm getting will allow me to game better, to edit better, to scrub through a timeline a lot better. One thing that I want to do just before finishing up this first chapter of the series of 10 gig, I want to take a 10 gig switch that I have. It's a Mikrotik 4-port SFP Plus switch. I am going to disconnect the ASUS router. I am going to connect my test Synology device to the switch and my computer to this switch. It will be connected to my regular network, and I want to see if there are any changes in the speeds that I'm getting. So I'm going to cut the recording right here and resume it once I get everything connected to my regular network in a 10 gig switch. All right, so now my test Synology device, the DS1621 Plus, is connected to the 10 gig switch, the Mikrotik 10 gig switch, and my computer is also been disconnected from the ASUS router and connected to the Mikrotik 10 gig switch, and the 10 gig switch itself is connected through the uplink port to my regular network, just so it will have some sort of a connectivity to the rest of the network and the internet. The one thing that I want to do right now is to open up the speed test page on my test Synology device. First of all, I am able to reach it. This means that I am indeed connected. I'll just verify that my connection here is indeed again 10 gig. I'm going to run the speed test again. Let's see what do we get on the 10 gig switch. I see that I'm getting almost the same speeds that I got when I was connected with the ASUS router. What this tells me is that maybe my assumption that the bottleneck here is the SATA drives on my Synology device, something that I would like to investigate maybe in the next few days. I have seen a lot of other videos online and on YouTube. For example, one video from someone that I really admire in the YouTube or in the IT community. His name is Jeremy Ciora. He also did a video about 10 gig connectivity with Synology devices. He also got somewhere the same speeds that I'm seeing right here, which again tells me, or maybe strengthening my assumption, that the bottleneck here is the SATA drives and not anything else in the networking elements. So join me in the next video about 10 gig networking at home or at our small businesses. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you will be notified when new videos come out. And if you like this video, please give it a like. It will help YouTube deliver this video to more people. Bye bye, guys.